I'm one of those hopeful motherfuckers. So when I hear someone say AI is not going to help housing, I gotta have to dig into a little bit of my own brain and find out what kind of answers he's probably skipping out on. God damn, my chocolate's bad.
Neo MasterCard, designed to keep up with your...
With new partnerships. And wisdom also has to survive contact with reality. Good morning, John.
We're going to have to go through this entire thing to find out what he said. Then we're going to have to find out what I had to say about it. But I don't have a comment yet. All I have from my current comment is, you need more abstract thinking to know why you're missing some steps and you're just vibing right now. That's my current state of things. That's how little I put into this. No actual answers, no real, rebuttal. Just everything is, you know what? I just know that you're wrong. I just know that you're completely just on your ass about this. So, with that in mind, heed the rest of my words as we go through this.
Right now in Sierra Leone, I was just texting with you. You're visiting the Maternal Center of Excellence, which I cannot wait to see more of. It is making me wonder about something that I think is important, and I apologize, but it is about AI. I think that AI is a big deal, and I do think that it's going to change a lot of things, but whenever somebody tells me that AI is going to change everything and solve, all problems, I check in with a little standard I've created. It's maybe you would call it a benchmark, not like how good is it at drawing a pelican on a bike, or inventing a novel protein, or beating a grandmaster at chess. We're going to call it Shelter Bench. How will AI help solve the housing crisis? Because, to me, the lack of housing that people want, where people want it, is one of the big problems that underlies many, many other problems in America. And I know that it is worse where I live than other places, but it is a very big problem, and it underlies a lot of other problems. And on that benchmark, I think AI does very poorly. And it's strange to me that we don't even look at this or think about it, but obviously, ask this question. If it's such a big deal, how does it solve the biggest problems? Maybe it would help a tiny bit of the margin. Maybe you could do permitting more quickly, maybe cheaper code review or design. But that's not what's blocking housing in America. I don't think anybody thinks that we haven't applied enough intelligence to the problem. The lion's share.
Okay. What is the housing problem? We know how to make them. We know how to make big ones with lots of potential places for people to have an apartment, and I live in one. So we know how to make them, or at least we did. And then we got older and we did it better. So it's not about how, it's about where. It's also about where's the money coming from? Not just to make the housing. That's a bullshit in and of itself. Oh boy. There's nobody want to put in enough money to make the housing. No, it's about how to make it so that we actually can pay for the housing. Because all that money has to be regular and come in often on a big scale. I can tell you, the rent for this place ain't nothing. And it's got to come from somewhere. So, we're going to be talking about how could AI help with the money function of the situation or the location function of the situation. Now, let's just listen.
Of the issue, and there's other things around this, but the lion's share is that people who own land in an area have power over that area, and they have all kinds of reasons to try and prevent new housing.
Not a clue. He doesn't. Wow, he hasn't been to Japan.
Housing from being built there, especially more.
We have more housing building in Japan than we need. It has been going so crazy that we are just building and then we're going to keep building again. We don't have the money to do all the building. We're doing it anyway. So how is AI going to help? I'll get to that. But so we're at the idea of, oh, the people want to control the land and
Dense new housing. They don't want more traffic. They're scared of change.
Buddy, you have not been to Japan. You haven't been there. Oof. I mean, with this freaking town here, right, has small housing. We're not building giant housing. We're building at it comes down to, it doesn't have to do, fuck off with the land. Land is shit. Demolish everything, rebuild from the scratch up, we can do that. The problem is putting all that money into the place to get it to do the thing that we need it to do. Land? Fuck off. No. Neighbors? Fuck off. We don't care. We don't care. No one cares about our neighbors, and the fact that you're saying that makes you seem stupid. No one cares about the neighbors. No one. Saying that we care about the neighbors is like saying there's rampant racism or some bullshit out there. No, I don't. First of all, I don't want to say that as a science communicator, as the reason we're not building housing is, oh, there's problems between people. You build enough housing where people are forced to live together because, fuck you, we have no choice. We're putting you here because that's where it's available. Guess what? You have to work these issues out. Having to work on this situation gives you the experience to be able to get through the situation, so that's nowhere near anyone's concerns. No one gives a shit about who you're living around. I know! No one gives a shit about who you're living around. No one. So you're talking out your ass from the get-go here, Hank, and I'm so upset that you said that. That's not even my first concern. My first concern was, how could AI do the thing? Now he's just flat out saying things that are lies. I'm not okay with this. I'm not exaggerating. This is a real reaction. This is not pumped up for the internet. I fucking hate that this is what he said. I'm making tea! That's how serious I am. I don't make tea. I make coffee. I am making tea today. Get your head out of your ass. That's my response. Bitch, ain't nobody give a shit about who neighbor is what. We have apartment buildings are full of literally anyone. There is no choice. No one gets a choice here, okay? The housing situation is, we don't get a choice. We get a slot that we get put into when we apply. That's how it worked. Okay? I had 3 choices. One of them was a broken down house that I didn't have any faith in. The other one was something else that I don't even care to remember. And then there's this place, which is 1, stable, and 2, I can tell them to fuck off if I really need to. Because we got a double door in the front. They're not getting in. Anybody that I don't have to give a shit about, except for the people who actually live here. So I have a very bubbled situation. And I'm happy here. Diversity is not. You can't get me more mad. You could try. You could try, But when you talk about diversity matters when it comes to housing, no, it fucking don't. No, it fucking don't. Not to, not to, not to the sane people of the housing system. They don't care. They do not care. They don't have to care. They shouldn't have to care. They don't have a choice. You apply, if you really apply, you're in there. If you qualify, and it doesn't matter what you are, you're there. Because we have sanity. We just put people where they can be. If we can. There are some people who are still homeless, which sucks. But guess what? How many places do we have to put them? Somehow, not many. How do we get more places to put them in? We just build more. How do we get to build more? Money. That's the thing. We need the money to build the place. Takes the money, put it into place. After a while, the rent and whatever else, and that rent is the major thing. Because if we're not on ODSP, if we're not on social insurance, if we're not on these other things, and if those budgets don't go up, or whatever reason, we don't have the money to pay the rent. Not to mention, it's got utilities and everything else included in it. So we need a system to help with the rent and everything else. We need a system to help everything get better, bigger, more, vastly more. And upkeep. Do you know why we build small here? Because we can't afford to build big. We can't afford to build big because we can't put all that money into all the development parts. We only have so many people around, even also to do all of the jobs of the fixing of the stuff. There's a backlog of labor to fix all of the stuff. We're constantly fixing. So what was going to help the housing situation? More jobs. More people who can do all the fixing. Who could do that? I need to clean up my... I made a little mess with my chocolate. You know I don't want to leave a chocolate mess on the counter. That would suck. It's another thing they have to fix. Actually, they're going to replace the counters. What do I care if it gets stained? I'm serious. What do I care if it gets stained? It's going to be replaced. I don't know when, but it will. So, you already pissed me off. Let's see how far this goes.
Know that if 20 people move in, maybe 2 of those people are going to be neighbors that they don't particularly like. Their property values benefit from scarcity. Nobody thinks AI is going to fix that. It's like saying that steam engines are going to fix hurricanes. Like there are problems that exist in different...
You can fix hurricanes with steam engines. You can fix hurricanes with steam engines, motherfucker. If you get a big enough engine, you can whirligig enough heat. Steam engines make the heat. What drives the hurricane? The heat. You pull it all in all sorts of different directions. You can force hurricanes. That's crazy. But it's real. We can freaking control the weather with enough heat distribution correctly. All that up. And then the up makes the twirl. Because the twirl happens because of the dynamics of going up smoothly. Don't get me started on hurricanes and... Don't get me started on hurricanes and steam engines, dude. You absolutely can control hurricanes with steam engines. I'm not even crazy. That's the problem. This is just another thing that he's spouting off, and it's like, no, if you actually look at the thermodynamics of hurricanes, it comes from high pressures, the pressure zones and everything else. Like, you can't just say these things. It's literally directly connected. Thermal systems with another thermal system. If you build it big enough, you can actually do the thing where you make a lot of steam. And then a lot of steam, a lot of lifting. And depending on where it is, blah, 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 blah. You can absolutely just make a hurricane. But, please don't do that.
Universes. So, how does AI do on the shelter benchmark? Badly. Like, it might potentially be actively making it worse because it might further concentrate wealth and intense inequality, creates weird...
Concentrate wealth. Make money out of nowhere. Oh God, we don't need more money. What? Money is the solution for housing. Money is the thing I just talked about that we need. So if we're going to have more money somewhere, guess what? It doesn't matter where it is. It matters that it's being spent. And then once it's being spent, and then we don't have to care about all these other things, we can put all that money that we've been putting into everything else into, guess what? The only place that's left. Housing. This guy's off his rocker. I'm not looking into the camera when I said that. I'm looking at you. You literally make enough money that you could just, have money to spare. And then suddenly, oh, let's have a tax write-off. Let's just put all that money towards the housing. And it's called charity. And then we get to, send that aside, not care, because we have billions to put towards it because we're saving so much money from all the AI doing all the other things that we don't want to do. We don't want to go into the sewers. We don't want to go into Chernobyl. We don't want to go into the places where there's sicknesses. We don't want to go into places where there's potential, like, rhinos. I don't know. I'm kidding about the rhinos. You gotta throw a joke in there every so often. The rhinos, I just heard a thing where they're like big puppies, and it just, oh God, I love that video so much because it's so true. They are like big puppies. Do you know why they stomp on he says that they stomp on the termite mounds. Do you know why? Because a big guy versus termites. Fucking hate termites because what's the most irritating thing? Some little shit biting you. So you know what? Fuck those guys in particular. We're not going to tolerate them. We're going to stomp them out because we can. Get out of here. You're not wanted for a couple of reasons. You might fuck up our food. You might just climb on us and irritate the shit out of us. And we don't want that. So stomp the freaking termites. Ah! Says the rhino. But the thing is, it's just a rhino being upset about being itchy or irritated. Who wouldn't be irritated? They have a lot of skin surface that they could be possibly irritated by, and things they could get caught in a lot of stuff. It's disgusting. You gotta clean a lot in order to get all of that out. How are you gonna do it? You got a lot of crackly, hard skin. It's you gotta think about it. This is why, right? Big stump? Oh yeah, crush it. You know why? Because if you crush it, first of all, that becomes a lot easier for the worms to eat. They don't have to work so hard on it. It's like, oh yeah, I'll help this. Crush the pop can. Grr! I can do that. Yeah, I'll do it. Why not? Versus they're just going around the freaking town doing nothing. Rhinos. They're fun. Respect them. They're extremely powerful. They could still just... But also, they're okay. They get a bad rap. They're fine. They're fine. Don't worry about rhinos. How did I get to rhinos? Shut up. Rewatch the video. I'll explain why I got to rhinos later.
Economic incentives to only serve the wealthiest consumers. Anyway, we could also take a look at another similar series of problems with TB bench.
Go on.
We here all know that tuberculosis kills more than 1 million people a year, and we've known how to prevent almost all of those deaths for decades. So that problem can't be intelligence because we have the know-how. Now, AI might help with diagnostic image reading or developing new antibiotics or surveillance modeling, which it would be great. Like, all those things are great, but those are not the thing that would solve the problem because we have solutions now. And doing any of those things or implementing any of those things would still...
What if we had... Now get this. An infection of nanotechnology that knows about all these viruses, that then, as the virus comes in, it butchers the shit out of it. And then you're left over with a virus that's in your body, but it can't hurt you, but the body is like, oh, I'm going to fight this anyway. And it learns how to fight it. And then, guess what? The entire world is Vaccine Dojo. You don't have to have any more vaccines. It's a universal vaccine where anything bad that we've labeled as bad is like, we're going to take that, we're going to strip it of all of its DNA, for better word, so it can't replicate and do crazy things. The body's gonna fight it, learn how to fight it, and even if it's a new strain, we're covered, bitch. That's what nanotech and AI and a good database system and good system of handling all this stuff can help do. But we're not there yet. We're not willing to go there because it also means we're infected by nanotech that can literally do anything in our body at the push of a button. A preset code system of buttons. There's a lot of security about that. It's very concerning. So anyway, we absolutely can cure, or we can turn every probable future virus into a vaccine instantaneously inside the body with a system that does that. It butchers the thing as it goes in, so we don't get infected by things that are lethal to us. We get infected by things that are lethal, and then they get weakened immediately, and then the rest of the antibody system does the rest of the job. It's like if you were to instantaneously know about all possible viruses and just make the vaccine inside your own body, the facility making it. Then we make the vaccine. Boom, done. And then the body does all the things that it does to learn how to then fight it, so we don't have to worry about these stupid things. Cancers? Cancer's a pussy. Cancer doesn't know shit. Cancer is simple. You go in there, you coat it with some basic junk that is like the body doesn't want this junk, and it excises the entire lump out. Like a nail. Right? We have ways of doing these things with nanotech. But we're not going to get into that because we're clearly not sophisticated enough to make nanotech that is properly functioning. We're not quite there yet. And also secure. It has to be secure. And in order to control nanotech, obviously you're going to have a battery pack a simple chip that remembers and knows all the things. That's the vulnerability. That's the strength. That's the powerhouse. It tells all of the nanotech what to do remotely. So it has to have some basic understanding of all of these things. It has to be very precise, and it has to have all these other understandings of three-dimensional space and exactly what you're targeting and everything else. It doesn't work at all with visuals and everything unless we can make a tiny little sensor cell which allows us to see inside the body, like with tiny little pill things that we can then move around with robotic legs. No, we're using like crazy other technologies that are in the future that will happen eventually, and then we will all be free of everything. We won't have to care about any virus, about any disease, about any cancers. Those will be gone. That's my future. But let's go back to Hank, because I think he hasn't had enough to say.
Require institutions that want the outcomes and can execute on them. Again, it's the same problem. The people who need the help, who need the resource, don't have power over the resources. People who need housing don't have any sway inside of a community.
The TB situation is you could have companies who apparently don't want to solve TB because it's not profitable, whatever, or you could have companies that do want to solve TB and don't have the finances. AI is going to make a lot of finances. Problem solved.
They don't live there. They don't have housing. The story of like a transformative technology tends to be told as one. This technology is very powerful. Two, powerful technologies transform society. Three, therefore, this technology will help solve our biggest problems. But I don't know if you like...
An AI system could be this thing that's like analyzing all the different genomes of all sorts of things, or the rings of muscle shells, or whatever the hell you want to put AI towards. It's no specific thing. It's a trillions of different tools thing. And knowing that means that it's capable of doing literally anything that you want it to do, and then everything also that you don't want to do, it can end up doing. So you can become more efficient at the stuff that you want to do, and find solutions where like everyone else, it would take 100 years to even comb through the information. This is the power of AI. So once you get everything pushing forward fast enough and powerful enough and doing anything, you can then apply that to literally anything, like weather prediction or control. You can use it to control things like holograms, which would be entertaining and fun and silly and mostly irrelevant, but they would be a new form of entertainment that is going to kick off eventually. AI-based or algorithmically based, like super holograms, are going to be a thing eventually, where they actually have the full capacity of making a proper hologram. This isn't science fiction anymore. Holograms are going to become real. And so that's another boost that you just didn't even see coming. Well, obviously you saw it coming, because the better technology gets, the more likely we are to get closer to the sci-fi stuff that we always thought was fake, like automatic doors was the thing that they thought was the least likely to happen. It happened first.
Spotted the logical problem there. 3 does not follow from 1 and 2. What follows from 1 and 2 is therefore...
Hold on, I missed your statements.
Who need the resource don't have power over the resources. People who need housing don't have any sway inside of a community. They don't live there. They don't have housing. The story of like a transformative technology tends to be told as one.
Try talking to your senator. Try talking to the mayor. Everyone's got a mayor. Find the email at your local library.
This technology is very powerful. 2, powerful technologies transform society. 3, therefore, this technology will help solve our biggest problem. But I don't know if you spotted the logical problem there. 3 does not follow from 1 and 2. What follows from 1 and 2 is therefore our society will be transformed. In what ways it is transformed is not clear. Now, John, some people are still out here thinking that AI is a scam. To me, that's obviously not what's going on. So I want to try and articulate what is going on. But in order to do that, I have to redefine intelligence. I mean, redefine. Can anyone define intelligence? No, obviously not. But throughout this video, I have been saying that you can't solve the housing crisis with more intelligence. But there is a version of intelligence.
You absolutely can solve the housing problem inadvertently with more intelligence. For example, there's an AI stock trading system that's already gone out, where you don't have to care about what's up, what's down. The unfeeling, unsympathetic AI is just going to trade up and down, instead of saying, we need to invest now, and then long term, these guys are going to be big, like Hell of a Boss or Amazing Digital Circus. These guys are going to be huge. Let's invest a lot now, and then we can sell later, I guess. And ask for a lot of money from people who are just doing their jobs, trying to make a cool piece of tech entertainment.
You could define intelligence in such a way
I got really
a
sad
bunch of
just
intelligence would help solve the housing crisis, especially if it was spread out among a lot of people who have power. But there's also a definition of intelligence that definitely could not help solve the housing crisis, and that's the one I'm using right now. So I want to tease these things out. I have lately been thinking about intelligence as power over information. So power in the physics sense is the ability to basically manipulate atoms. Heat them up, speed them up, pick them up, drop them, slam them into each other, melt them, mix them, push them over here. It's doing all of those things. So lately, I've been thinking of intelligence as the ability to manipulate information. Mix them up, make new things out of it, push them over here, bring a bunch.
Literally opening and closing roads so that the entire infrastructure of the city runs smoother than by having that road open. That's a crazy thing. Thank Veritasium for that insight. Which, whatever.
Move it to the top of a mountain and throw it off. That. I don't know what I mean exactly, but the ability to manipulate information, which I know is not what we mean precisely by intelligence, but what is it? There's no good definition anyway, but I think that there's.
I prefer to say utilize than manipulate. Manipulate means changing it in your favor. Utilizing information is gathering, figuring out what it means, profit.
Some value in looking at it through this lens for a moment here, where intelligence is the ability to manipulate information. And yeah, crows do that, and single-celled organisms do that, and maybe search engines do that, and maybe we don't think.
Honey. Just kidding.
Those things as having intelligence?
Fuck.
Certainly they're not intelligent, but they might have intelligence. I think maybe they do. Regardless, if the shorthand I'm using for the ability to manipulate information is the word intelligence, then intelligence you get processing and sorting and predicting and even generating. We just have way more of it than we used to have, even without AI, and potentially very cheaply. We have way more ability to manipulate information and to.
Recently I saw some Studio Ghibli AI made stuff, which is surprising that IP is able to just be oh, we're going to take this style and we're going to make our own little short stories and put them on TikTok and everything, and no one cares. Actually, people love it and adore it because they're just picking up some vegetables, frying them, eating them. It's adorable. And there's no major arcing story that Ghibli would be able to be like, well, you stole that. Well, I guess you didn't steal it from us because we got our own thing, and you're being very vague, I guess.
Have it do stuff for us than we previously had. That's very powerful. That's very interesting. And nobody knows what that means. We live in an intelligence-constrained world, and so if you have more of it, like, a bunch of stuff's going to get created that otherwise wouldn't happen. But intelligence is separate.
There's a lot of stuff, like the Neil deGrasse Tyson movie trailer, which I only recently heard about, and was like, thank God no one put actual effort into that, because there is no reason to put hundreds of hours of time into that. Because that was, one, stupid, and two, hilarious. And perfect for, like, clipping and having bits and just enjoying for the sake of it's just silly. Imagine entire movies made with individuals' likenesses, not permission, no actual anything else, but it's stupid and it actually is funny enough to look at once, maybe a couple times. We don't want to see Will Smith eating spaghetti AI, but this was cinema made by AI, and it's just a commercial. Wait until the movie comes out. It's not. It also included freaking it also included Mr. Beast and other people. So like Jimmy's in there, and like, yeah, okay, and Elon Musk, why not? And it's also young Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's not current age Neil deGrasse Tyson. And it's like, I had to save that short. I might put a link into the description of that, so you can watch it for yourself, because holy crap, you've got to watch this. It is transforming the world. Okay, this one commercial, which is completely illegal by most standards. You gotta watch it though before they take it down. Actually, they can't, because it's literally him reacting to it. So there's no choice. It's there for eternity now, Neil. You can't get it taken down. It's your own content now. Because it's you reacting to it. You can't have it removed. Because you'd have to have your own reaction removed. Because you have the entire thing inside of it. I don't even know where the original thing is. That'd be great to have. Because there's no cutting of the short. I would love to have that. For no reason other than to laugh.
From what I'm just going to go ahead and call wisdom, and I don't think that we have a way to mass produce wisdom. So perhaps we have been moving throughout my lifetime from a world...
Regular AI and the ability to have conversations and all that is logic. There is a lot to say about eventually we will have the ability to encode wisdom. Wisdom is, in Minecraft, don't dig straight down. That's a basic understanding that people have. And if you're going to dig straight down, there is an obvious logic that you can use. Is that you build a 2 tunnels going straight down. One of them has water. Then you dig that one down first. You're halfway in between the blocks, so you're always held by the water, so you can't fall if you wanted to. And you dig them both down, one, then the other, one, then the other, one, then the other, and then you just go down absolutely safely. You won't fall in lava. You won't fall into a ravine. You won't fall into anywhere with enemies. You are protected. This is wisdom that can be then put into the code, and then it's part of learned understanding. And they could figure that out themselves. It's a very simple solution. Once I figured it out, it's the only way I go down nowadays, except for in Hightail. I don't do that because in Hightail, you can't breathe! You can't go out of the water tunnel because you're going to fall out. You have to have a surface to go out on, right? So then you have to build a side thing where the water doesn't go in, but you then go into it and you have breathing. But if you're going into an open area to try to get down, water is not the way. If you want to get up, water is not the best way. You might drown. So you have to be careful about things. Anyway.
That was intelligence constrained to one that is wisdom constrained. Perhaps that transition started a while back, but we are in the midst of it still. So for more...
Intelligence is just applied logic and information. Wisdom is applied intelligence. Like just knowing things, eventually wisdom just pops out. Like we're not going to do something stupid over here because that would affect how we're able to live out our lives. So we're going to have tactics. Tactics is wisdom. And AI and tactics are hand in hand. It's just a system that they learn of how to do things. How to, like, don't hit the piglins.
Examples. Intelligence would help you get what you want, whereas wisdom would help you want what you should want or the right things. It's the ability to figure out which problems are worth solving and then to solve them in ways...
Like, we know we have to kill every enemy in sight, but if we also know that the piglins are gonna then come at us in droves, if we attack them, then we learn, don't attack these ones. And then they're fine. Also, you can help them to do stuff, and you put them into a little hole, and then you get them to trade with you.
That don't create worse problems in the process, which is not easy. Even the wise fail on that sometimes. But like designing a more effective slot machine is an application of intelligence. I
think anyone can know that in hole is safe. If they in hole, you can't get hit. That works in every game. If they're in a hole, you're safe. You don't have to tower up. Them in a hole equals you be safe. Universally applicable. You're welcome.
You would call it an application of wisdom. And wisdom also has to survive contact with reality and also the other people who make up reality. I don't see any reason to
pit traps are part of reality. They did that. Also, I don't know. How do you make holes in democracy? What?
I think that like making intelligence extremely efficient wouldn't like change the power dynamics that create an unjust world. It might help, it might hurt, it might do both at the same time or in different situations or at different scales. It is impossible to know, though I certainly see a concentration of power being somewhat inevitable here, but maybe not. I don't know. A frame that has been resonating with me is that AI is to some extent a technology. It is a tool that already makes like a fairly broad array of tasks easier, probably make more tasks easier in the future. I think it's genuinely a big technological shift. That is sort of how I'm imagining it. There's a lot of, leaping 7 steps down the path that I don't think is valuable because
6 or 7 steps.
Nobody can predict any of these things, but like as of right now, it is a big technological shift. And so has been the internet.
I had to.
So has been personal computing. These things did not solve the housing crisis. I think it's wild to say this, but it is obviously...
I'm sorry, but people having more jobs in computing and the computing and whatever else and whatever thing, the capacity of making more jobs and the thing, and the Steve Jobs, and all these other places that we have Absolutely. If you can go into computing, it's the easiest job to get into because you don't have to do anything in you don't have to go somewhere and do the job. You could just do it at home. And I hate the fact that um, I was told that my phone was going to go to somewhere to be properly professionally taken care of and fixed, and it was instead just fixed by my brother-in-law. That's called a lie. If you're going to be doing something, you better freaking know what you're doing. Just saying, have a lot of experience before you do the thing, or a lot of expertise or something.
Be true that it will be easier for AI to create a cancer drug than it will be to get that cancer drug to all the people who need it. And I think that it is important to recognize that those problems are both problems.
That you can come at it from all different sides. Like literally, again, making all things easier. Like if you want to have things get to places and people, one thing you're going to want to have is maybe the ability to deliver anywhere without having to care about if there are roads, like in Africa or whatever else. I don't know. Don't at me. I don't know. Some place where it's like, let's say it's in the middle of the desert or wherever else. I don't care. And then you could have, or in the middle of towns and everything, or cities where they have. Now, here's the thing. That stupid little robot that is basically just on wheels and expected to go everywhere in the city was poorly designed. We already have robots with legs. Put the stuff on the robot with the legs. A lot easier to get around places. They can just move around and be really careful about where they're going. Although you could push them over and everything else. But they're less likely to have problems like the wheeled guys are. So, put the delivery bots on legs. It's so much simpler. And if they're going to have wheels, make them big wheels. Don't make them small. Small wheels don't have any clearance to be able to get over anything, to be able to traverse things. You can't go up and down stairs. So if you're going to have to go into a place like my apartment that has no elevator, you're going to want a robot with legs that can take the stairs. Or you need to have a robot with the ability to like transition with a step-by-step motion that allows it to go up and down stairs. I flash forward my brain to the iRobot part. 8,880 steps. Keep that shit to yourself.
Sir doesn't care if the drug exists. It is not going to be affected by the existence of a drug that is not being given to a patient. So the question isn't whether AI is powerful. I think that it clearly is. It's just that no one can know what its impacts will be. Will it allow wisdom to flourish, or will it allow the powerful to route around wisdom as they tend to do when given the opportunity? And I don't know.
When we had automated production of cars, we went from having hundreds of jobs to needing only 10 jobs per car to process and get out. Suddenly we went from hundreds of cars to trillions of cars. That's not an exaggeration. It's not an exaggeration. Trillions of cars. Well, that's 1,000 more cars than there are people. Yes. How do we have so many cars? First of all, we have taxis. Taxis are not cars for individual people. They are taxis with systems. There are also all the trucks. There are also all of the vehicles. I also include like forklifts and golf carts, race cars, like all of the things. We have trillions of cars. I'm not even joking. Easily. Trillions. It's not even close. The ability to do that in an automated way makes it so much easier for everyone to then make the cars, put them out there, find out what's wrong with the cars, make better cars, put them out there. All these other research and development things take so much time. AI would make it so that the cars would have the research and development that it would take years to do. Instead, it would take months. And then the cars are out there with all these other ideas that then make it safer and whatever else. And implementation of stuff that makes things more efficient or whatever else. As they say, rising tide lifts all the ships. Whatever. If you can have a system,
How to answer that question?
if you have a system that can apply all sorts of different efficiencies to all sorts of different things, that will trickle down to everything else that we need to put the real effort towards. I'm making hand gestures that you can't see. That will trickle down to literally everything else that you want to make effort towards. So you literally are able to go from having very little money for housing to now having billions of dollars for more housing, trillions of dollars for more housing, if you really are doing your jobs properly. And in order to do this correctly, it takes apparently the problem with AI and everything that is and how it develops is that you need it to work in its field, and it has to be really great at its job, or you don't deploy. So many other mistakes and whatever else can happen and whatever else, and we're trying to make sure that it absolutely does not have these errors. So like auto taxis eventually will become a thing where the AI is capable of doing all the things, and then there's this whole idea of, well, we're going to make it so that the original auto taxis were like, oh, you absolutely can take over at any given time and make sure things don't happen badly in case something bad happens. Meaning, you're like passive for a long time and then you're suddenly active doing the thing that you were supposed to do, in fact, better. And you don't have all of that experience of doing the thing, having it be part of your regular processing, so you're then forced to then suddenly do it. I would love it if people just learned and knew how to do things properly, with tons of experience from the earliest times. Like, why are we waiting so long to teach people how to drive? We could teach them how to drive and make it part of their normal system. You don't understand. I'm not saying give them the power to drive. I'm saying teach them how to drive. Put it into their brain so that they know how to drive in the formative years. Because you get them in a car in like the example, go-karts, right? You get them in a car in that scenario where, okay, it's very simple, it doesn't have a lot of speed and whatever else, and you can learn all these different things about driving from the age of 5. Suddenly you have drivers who have known how to drive for 10 years before they actually get their license. And at that point, they're an expert. They know how to drive. Instead of somebody who literally is starting to drive in their not formative years, so it's hard to start learning. Learn sooner! What the hell is wrong with you guys? A go-kart driving school where you're literally forced to learn how to drive from the beginning so you know how to drive, and you only get certified to be able to actually do like legal driving at the regular age, but you are absolutely in that knowledge center space this whole time. And then generations are going to be like, why haven't we done this before? We have so many other people who now know how to drive safely, and the reasons for why it has to be safe, why it has to be specific.
But John, I hope you're having a good trip, and please tell everyone at the Maternal Center of Excellence that they are doing work that really matters.
Good for you. Very, but seriously, what the fuck is wrong with people? The stuff that we need to learn is not, like, people think that they taught me how to do things when it came to language and whatever else, when it came to all those language courses that I had for 4 years. That is a lot of time. Essentially, like, besides learning how to spell words, all these other things were already part of my brain. Knowing how to use verbs, knowing how to use conjugates, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It was already part of my brain. I didn't need all of that stuff. I didn't need to go through 3 different grades of language. I could have absolutely had other training on more important things. Like, why can't we learn if, like, literally, as interpersonal issues arise in schools, there's not a lot of handling how the people actually do all the things. And, like, or when the way I grew up, we didn't have, which is literally 20 years ago. I'm old. We didn't have the ability to enforce how you're supposed to be treating other people. But we absolutely could have enforced that. We could have absolutely given them more understanding of, like, even an artificially, you could artificially make issues and then resolve the issues in a professional way, so that we have an experience with, you do this thing, you talk to these people about it, it gets resolved better. And then we have conflict resolution baked into the system, where it's not a problem, it's we're going to push you past your sensitivities, and we're going to help you understand this is a good way to handle this. And you can do things a lot better and everything else. What does this have to do with AI? It has to do with wisdom. It has to do with just how you handle the world And who says that I ever have to conform to the question at the prompt? I already talked about rhinos. You know how this works. But, and my first comments and everything else are like, well, no, we absolutely can solve these things. The more money that's made, the more money we could possibly shunt into these all things. I solved all the problems in the early parts of this stream. I'm not concise. I'm not editing. I'm just going to say what's necessary to be said whenever it's necessary to be said. So when it comes to, if I were to summarize, he doesn't know shit what he's talking about how AI could actually be a help towards things. And I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. You don't know. You don't get it. There's so much more that we could do and could know and will be capable of when things actually go from research and development into practice. That AI being able to handle certain things, or algorithms being able to handle certain things, and general intelligence, or, you know what, let's just train a robot to actually do a job properly, like train it how to move boxes, right? You don't want to have people moving tons and tons of stuff if you can just put that towards an AI to do. And if it's sensitive stuff, AI would be great at moving it precisely and not need to worry about, are they going to trip or whatever else. We can make things that are extremely stable, right? We can make things that absolutely have more ability to do things. I didn't steal his look. This is my regular shirt. He just happens to have a blue hoodie today. We literally can do all sorts of things to make it so that the money that we need for the whatever thing can get to the places it needs to get. And it doesn't matter if certain corporations or companies don't want things to happen. There are people who want it to happen and will be able to absolutely just utilize whatever other systems that are already in place and make charitable donations or whatever other thing. Foundations designed to make housing more possible or more functioning. And not just build the thing, maintain the thing, pay the rent for the thing. All of these things very important, right? You gotta build it, you gotta maintain it, you gotta pay the rent. So at that point, if you can solve all these three different things, and AI is any part of that, then that means that AI absolutely did help the housing situation. And we won't know for another 20 years. Or maybe another 10 years, 5 years. But it absolutely could. I can't speak as much towards tuberculosis. I don't understand about that. But if I were to guess, screening for tuberculosis or whatever else, and understanding about, well, here's a silly idea. Learning about all the different stuff that is the byproducts of tuberculosis so that we can know from surveys of environment where these things are. And if we already know that, then we just have to track down what actually blah blah blah, and we can pinpoint exactly something something something. So if we have an early warning sign of, well, these byproducts are in the water, we now know that tuberculosis was there. If that was a thing that we could do, then that's a thing that AI would be great at helping with. And then blah 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 blah. Like the fact of ignoring the inadvertent, the not direct ways that AI could be helpful. If you ignore those possibilities, you absolutely are not thinking with the scientific method. And that's the worst crime that a scientist can do. Slightly less worse crime is to overdo the scientific method, thinking of all sorts of theories that could apply but actually don't apply, and then leading to the conclusion of, well, it's not helpful in this way, when there's nuance evidence that says it actually is useful in this way. So it's like you absolutely can make more harm by making the video he made than if anyone were to watch the video that I just am producing as I'm speaking. You can then grab, like, literally all these thousands of ideas that can be the solution to all these things that you're saying. Like, why nitpick on the problem when you could absolutely stab at the problem and find ways of fixing it? Right? And, like, I see so much lack of that in this video. I feel like the capacity of actually doing more potential of influencing the change that you want to have happen should have happened in this video I'm reviewing, and it didn't. Not even close. So I feel like, was this a waste of time making his video? Almost. Not only is he's like, it depends. Like, there are certain things he's bringing up that then bring up things in me that then make me make the long form thing that can inform people about how to do the thing because I'm so pissed off. And, like, so therefore, him and he's getting people, if he can get people to think, and if other people in the system are able to then watch this and then think, then, and if it stirs them up and gets them to do the thing, more power to you. I mean, if you're going to rage bait the entire community to do things, and if that works to make things happen, then he's doing a great job in this video at rage baiting people to be like, oh, yeah, no, we can't solve housing with AI. How could we even? It's just a processor. It just can do stocks and taxes and, like, math of where the weather is going. It doesn't actually know how to fix housing. That's like apples and coconuts. It's not even the same. Apples and rice? I don't know. Apples and oranges versus apples and rice is a completely good take, dude. Freaking apples and oranges? Like, they look very similar and they're very different. Apples and rice? Rice is freaking not even close to the same. Rice doesn't even have... Like, there's all sorts of things that's completely multitudes different about how rice works. Like, works in water. It has a completely different structure system about it. It propagates differently and blah, 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 blah. It needs different things. It provides different things. Versus apples and oranges. Wow, that... Who even made that up? That's the worst analogy ever. It's like, oh yeah, let's take something that's similar, but it's similar enough that you still have to look at the details, and they're actually very different. But it's like apples and a grain of wheat. Apples and a goddamn plate. Apples and your mom. I don't know. Apples and meat grapes. I mean, we can go on.
I'll see you on Tuesday. I'm about to upload this video, and I just wanted to say that Nilay Patel put out a video yesterday about some of his thoughts on similar topics that in part inspired this video. And I'll link that in the description. And also, John, I'm just going to do a screenshot. I'll show you this. You texted me this morning and you said the MCOA is incredible. It is truly, truly incredible. Pretty cool.
The Tide Boosted Test.
I've officially included the entire video in this video. Very transformative. Anyway. Look, I'm gonna give him a like anyway, but also I'm not gonna give I don't think I can give a rating to this video, but I did say like the thing that needs to be said. Can I give it a rating? Should I give it a rating? What rating would I give it? For missing the entire freaking point of how AI is then able to make the finances to make the thing happen, and then getting all the other things potentially right. C+. Is it something that I do simply because, look, eventually people are going to be like, wait, what is this guy talking about? What's with all these? And the problem is you have to scour the internet to find all these gradings. And you have to be like, look for specifically me in the comments, finding all these different nitpicks of what grades I give all these videos. And sometimes I don't even make videos about it. I just make the grading and be like, no, you actually have to be more thoughtful about what you put out there. Because as science communicators, we are legit. We are forced. We must absolutely put the effort in. Okay, I love these shorts. I'm going to watch these later. And make sure that we're saying correct things. Or make sure we're saying the thing that influences the person to do the thing that we wanted to have them do.